Alright, yesterday we talked about area of rectangles and squares. Today we're going to do parallelograms, and area is a lot like this length times width. I want you to be sure you are writing down the area of a parallelogram. So the area of a parallelogram equals the base times the height. Okay, now remember the base is that thing along the bottom, and the height is where a point meets at a 90-degree angle. So you can draw that on the outside of the parallelogram like they did here, or you could draw that height on the inside of the parallelogram like they did here. See where it meets at a right angle? And so if I were to take off this triangle and put it over here, it would be a rectangle, which is why we can get away with saying base times height. See, if I took this and moved it over here, so that's why we need to figure out the height. So if I was drawing this on the inside, it would be here. But do you see how it's really like a rectangle? So the area of a parallelogram, you need to remember, is base times the height. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. So area equals 6 times 10, which is 60, and this was in millimeters squared. Here we have the base times the height. So here's the base, 8. Times the height, which is 3. 8 times 3 is 24, and this time it is in centimeters times centimeters, which is centimeters squared, or square centimeters. Here we have the base, which is 4, times the height, which is 5. 4 times 5 is 20, and in this case it's yard times yard, or square yard, or yard squared. Okay, so we're just putting that in here, right? So 4 times 1 equals 4 inches squared, right? 6 times 14 . 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And this was in miles squared. 84 square miles. It's a big area of a parallelogram. And finally, the last one on this page, we have 6. I'm not sure why they have a whole another group there. 6 times 13. Well, it's 6 less than this, right? So 78 feet squared. Alright, so base times height for the area. Now, in order to find the perimeter, we have to know all the sides as well. So we have 2 bases, or 2 times 3.5. So it's very similar to our rectangle perimeter, right? Plus 2 times 5.8. So 7 plus 11.6 equals 18 6/10. And this was just in inches, because we weren't multiplying any measurements, or labels rather. So I think the main reason why you're looking here is because you need to be able to decipher which is the base, which is the height, and which is just the side length. Because remember, the height is going to be different than the side length. Okay, so it's important that if we were finding the area of this, you took the base times the height. So we would have 3.5 times 5. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 3 is 15, 16, 17. We had one decimal in there. So 17.5 inches squared. Alright, so our perimeter here is 2 times one side length plus 2 times the other side length. So we have 24 plus 8, which equals 32 millimeters. And then our area, remember, our base is 4, and then our height is different than our side length. It is marked as 10. So 4 times 10 is 40 millimeters squared. And finally, our perimeter here is 2 times 1/4 of a mile plus 2 times a mile. So 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5, and then I have 2 decimal places in my answer. So we would expect 2 1/4 miles to be a 1/2 mile, so that makes sense. Plus 2, so we have 2 5/10 of a mile around the perimeter if we were to walk all the way around those perimeters. And our area is the base times the height, which in this case our height is 3/4 of a mile right here, from here to there. So say 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Then I'm going to hold my place. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 17. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 1. So 5, 7, 8, and 1. Now, this is very interesting. We have 1, 2 here, 2 there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we only have 1,875 tenths, hundreds, thousandths, 10,000ths of a mile squared. Very interesting, right? Alright, hit me with your questions. Let me know. Hopefully you're figuring out base times height and just throwing those into that. And remember, perimeter, we can just add up all the sides. Have a fantastic day.